Hi, Jason Canal, GQue Barbecue. Are you looking for a different way to make pork tenderloin? Well, today I've got a head turner for you. We're gonna braid the pork tenderloin. We're gonna cut it into 3 strips and make this really cool, unique pork tenderloin. If you wanna see how we do that, it's coming up right now. Here at GQue Barbecue, we are all about the grilling and chilling lifestyle. If that's something that interests you, smash down that subscription button and hit that bell notification and you won't miss any of our videos. So I always wanna show you guys simple and easy recipes that you can recreate at your house to impress your family and friends. I can show you a traditional way of smoking pork tenderloin just using a different rub and glaze, but we've already done a pork tenderloin and it was absolutely fantastic. It was an apple, maple, and cranberry pork tenderloin and it was cooked to perfection. If you want to see how I did that, go ahead and click that iCard up above. Today I'm going to show you how to braid pork tenderloin so it can be a creative presentation. The first person I saw do this was Go Blue Barbecue on Instagram. If you're not familiar with his page, go give it a follow. He's making all kinds of great stuff. Now, I'm not sure if he's the one who created this, but he is the first person I saw do it. So we're gonna cook this pork tenderloin today somewhere between 325 and 350 degrees. I'm gonna fill this charcoal basket up about halfway with some briquettes. I'm gonna go ahead and use this fire starter right here to get the charcoal going. One other thing I want to point out to you guys is when putting the charcoal basket back into the drum, go ahead and hold it right here on the right-hand side so that you don't burn your hand. I'm gonna let this guy come all the way up to about 325 degrees. And once it gets that hot, I'm gonna clamp down these valves so they're about a quarter to a half of an inch open. I'm gonna leave the top one about 25% open. And this will help ensure that our temperature stays right in that 325, 350 range. So what we have right here is a pork tenderloin. I'm gonna go ahead and clean it up a little bit by removing some of this silver skin so we have a nice, clean piece of meat to work with. So I got this beautiful pork tenderloin with all the silver skin removed. I'm gonna go ahead and trim it by leaving about 1 inch nice and intact at the end. I'm gonna make 2 slits to reveal 3 pieces of pork tenderloin that I then can weave to create that beautiful braided presentation. So now we got our 3 pieces of pork tenderloin. I'm gonna season each braid of the pork with a different rub. I think this is gonna combine a lot of different flavors into one bite that's really gonna come together nicely. The first rub I'm gonna use is GQue the rub. Sprinkle it on all sides of the pork. Second rub I'm gonna use is Honey Hog by Meat Church. And third rub I'm going to use is Gentry's Smokestack. Now this rub has got a lot of big chunks of ingredients in there, so it might get a little messy considering the other 2 are more of a finely ground powder. So I'm putting it back together to show you guys this is what it originally looks like. And this is important as we start braiding it because we want to be able to roll everything on top of it so it keeps its original shape. For those of you that have daughters out there, you know exactly what I'm talking about and it's going to be very easy for you to do. For those of you who don't, watch closely as I just roll them on top of one another to keep that original shape intact. I'm gonna just go right over the top of the entire tenderloin with the rub. The reason I'm choosing the rub out of those 3 is because I know it's gonna give it a fantastic color once we get that really good charcoal and hickory smoke on the pork. But use whatever rub you like, and you can use just 1 rub on the entire pork tenderloin. You can also just season the outer layer, but what I like about doing it this way is we get the flavors down into the meat, and we also create more surface area by doing this braid than by leaving the pork tenderloin intact. So we're gonna get more crust, which means more flavor. A couple different options you can do down here at the end. You can use some butcher's twine and tie it together. You can tuck this underneath also too. What I'm gonna do is I'm gonna tuck it underneath and wrap it right over and use just a skewer to skewer it to hold it all in place. Don't forget to season the bottom of the pork tenderloin also. So we'll season the bottom. That'll ruin what we have on the top. Not too bad, still looks okay. You can see where it came undone a little bit right here, so we'll just go back over with a light coat of rub. And this guy will be ready for the smoker. Let it absorb all that really good hickory smoke, all that good charcoal flavor. So I've got a little strip of hickory wood I'm going to add to the drum smoker to give it that really good hickory flavor. If you've got chunks, chunks are perfect. Go ahead and add about 2 or 3 chunks depending on how much wood flavor you like. Here's something interesting you might want to try. I'm only cooking for 6 people today, so I'm just using 1 pork tenderloin and cutting it into thirds. If you've got a big group, take 3 pork tenderloins and use those to make your braid. By using 3 pork tenderloins instead of 1, you're going to get a giant braid that's sure to turn heads at your next barbecue. So now we're going to go ahead and create a glaze for that pork tenderloin. About 80% of the flavor is coming from that GQue barbecue with the rub. That's a very savory, very balanced rub. I want to get some sweetness into the pork. I'm going to do that by adding some apricot preserves. I'm also going to use the GQue Hottish barbecue sauce as the base for it. So we're going to get some good heat coming from the Hottish. We're going to get some good sweet from the apricot preserves, and then we're going to get a good savory flavor from the rub that's on the pork tenderloin. I've also got some apple juice here that I'm going to use to cut the glaze with, so it gets a nice thin consistency that makes it easy to baste on. We don't want a big, thick, gloopy glaze. We want a nice thin glaze that's going to coat the pork tenderloin nicely to give that additional layer of flavor. We're going to go about 6 parts Hottish with about 1 part apricot preserves. Mix all that up in there. So see how it kind of clumps? It does that because of the preserves that I've added. So in order to prevent that from happening, I'm going to add this apple juice just to kind of thin it out so it runs and not clumps. Now we got much more of a runnier sauce and not a clumpier sauce. And what that does is allow more of a basting action so we can create that additional layer of flavoring so it doesn't overpower the pork, so that the pork is still the star of every single bite. Let's go ahead and take a look at our pork tenderloin. Coming along nicely. I'm going to set the sauce on here so that it starts to warm up, and by warming the sauce, it's going to homogenize all those different flavors as they start heating up. Also hoping to get a little bit of that smoke flavor down into the sauce. It's been cooking for, probably about 25 minutes. I'm also going to take the temperature of the pork tenderloin to see where we're at. Notice it's thicker right here, so the temperature right here is going to be lower than on the thinner ends where it's going to be higher. So I'm going to take the temperature right here in the thick end. Right about 122, 120 is the lowest. So I'm going to let this guy go for about another 15 more degrees before we start applying the glaze. So it's been about another 10 minutes. Ideally, I would have liked to have checked this at about 5 minutes, but I got distracted. I know we're going to overshoot the 135. So yeah, so we're already at 140, 141. So another 5 degrees and this guy's ready to come off. Let's take a look at our glaze. See how it's running? That's what I'm talking about. That's what we want. That's going to make it really easy to apply that base. Let's just go ahead and start basting the glaze onto the pork tenderloin. This is going to do 2 things. It's going to, of course, add a layer of flavor, which is what we're going for. And because it's nice and thin, it's not going to be overpowering. If we put a big, thick, gloopy glaze on here, it's just too overpowering in my opinion. And we want to taste the pork first. And the second thing it's going to do is just add a beautiful color to it. I can already see the color that it's adding to it, that once this gets to cook for 8 to 10 more minutes, we're going to have a beautiful mahogany piece of pork tenderloin. Let that glaze set up on there, probably about 5 minutes, and we'll be ready to eat. So this pork tenderloin's been going only for about 3 minutes. I wanted to take a look at it because I know we're right at about 145 degrees right now, and that's the optimal time to take it off. I also want to show you guys 2 different things. For me, I wanted that sauce to set up so you can see right in here how it doesn't look wet anymore. That sauce is cooked into the meat, so we're going to get that really good color, which we're getting right here. We're going to get that really good flavor. And you can see right here where it's still wet. So that could benefit from another 3 to 5 minutes so it cooks entirely into the pork. I'm gonna go ahead and take this guy off right now because I know we're at 145 and I want that really good juicy pork. So our pork tenderloin's been pulled off. I've got some apple coleslaw that we serve in the restaurant here that I'm just gonna put down and mince that up finely and use that really as just a garnish and also a base to complement the pork. I'm gonna kind of just make a place where we can put our pork. I'm gonna cut the pork on a slight bias so that it will lay nicely as we put it into the slaw. So pork tenderloin cuts so well. It's cooked perfectly. 145 is the ideal temperature for pork tenderloin. Now I got some of this apricot glaze that I'm just gonna drizzle over the top of it. Totally optional here if you wanna do this or not. Absolutely delicious. The pork was so tender and succulent. 145 is the optimal temperature to pull pork tenderloin at, in my opinion. If you don't want to miss any of my easy how-to barbecue videos, go ahead and click my face right there to subscribe to this channel. Also, YouTube has selected for you the next best video for you to watch. Go ahead and click that box right there to see that, and I'll see you on the next one.